With the first splash of ink, it should be stated that this, the story of Mengku, is not intended for those who disbelieve in science importance. Such persons will merely say pish and tush together with other hurtful remarks and remain unconvinced and scornful. But the open-minded, they are the people. They will nod their heads in understanding. Up next, the 1926 winner, Shen of the Sea, by Arthur Bowie Chrisman. Arthur Bowie Chrisman was born in Virginia in 1889. He grew up on a farm and attended a one-room schoolhouse, and is basically described as being a natural-born storyteller. He spent much of his life telling tales to his siblings, and later to his nieces, to other members of the family, to friends. He just liked to make up and tell stories. He traveled to California and became intrigued by Chinese culture and started writing stories. Going into a store in order to do some research for one of his stories, he struck up a friendship with the Chinese shop owner. And out of that friendship and his interest came 3 books, including Shen of the Sea. I have to start with saying I have some concerns about the title of this book. Shen of the Sea is the title of one of the stories in this collection, but Shen is also used in a variety of the stories, and it's always used to mean demon. I did a little bit of searching, and from what I was able to find, again, not a deep dive, just some kind of basic searching, according to Encyclopedia Britannica, Shen is actually used in a positive sense. It is a spirit or a deity, but it's connected to light, where here it is almost always connected to evil or dark or demons. It's used as a synonym for demons. Now, one of the reasons that I went looking for this is because there are a number of things in this collection that made me wonder how much of this is actually Chinese folktales and how much of this are stories made up by a Western author using what they think to be a Chinese sensibility. Knowing that he was friends with a Chinese shopkeeper and that he got some of the tales from them, I can also kind of see there is a little unevenness. Some of the stories feel a little bit more like actual folk tales, and some again feel like an outsider's perspective telling the story of what they think a Chinese story would sound like. I don't know much about Chinese folktales and mythology. I have read a few books based on them, but even without knowing, I just got that sense from reading some of sections of this book. Having just read Tales from Silverland, the collection of stories of South American folk tales, that felt much more like someone went around and collected stories from the people, where this feels like somebody outside the culture telling stories and then kind of trying to fact check a few things. There is some use of Chinese language and terms, but especially after my quick search on the title, I have some real questions and concerns about the other language that is used and whether it's accurate or not. I did enjoy many of the stories. They're pretty standard folktale fare, but with an Eastern twist. Again, not sure how much of that is accurate. As is the case with folktales, a lot of them are kind of origin stories of things like kites, and there's a reference to the origin of windows or china, as in like the plates and dishes that we use. The question that I kept having was, is this an actual Chinese folktale explaining this, or is this Chrisman's imagination of a story and then kind of fitting it into that culture? So for example, there's a story about the origin of printing. We know that printing does originate in China, but is this a story told by the Chinese to explain that development, or is this something that he knew that and so he wrote a story to come up with an origin? As a collection of tales, this was okay. As a representation of Chinese culture, I just don't know enough, and I would really hesitate to base any knowledge on this book. I would really like to go find a collection of Chinese folk tales told by Chinese authors so that I would have a better sense of perhaps some of the accuracy. This is another book that is in the public domain, so it is available on Project Gutenberg. I will place a link in the description of the video. Up next, Smokey the Cow Horse by Will James. So very different after 2 sets of tales. This looks more like a narrative book, and we'll see how this one goes. Thanks for joining and happy reading!